another podcast. So, there's a season in life, in business, that nobody really warns you about. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the quiet time, the in-between time, the time where we are all worried about what's going to happen next. When's the next deal going to come and land on my desk? When are we going to get busy again? Nobody really warns you about this. It's not the beginning where everything feels exciting and new either. It's the new breakthrough. It's where momentum finally shows up and starts to really click. It's the space in between. It's the quiet season. It's the stretch where you're doing all of the work, showing up consistently, making better decisions, tightening your habits, improving your skills, but yet nothing looks like it's working. There's no applause. There's no feedback. Social media isn't blowing up for you yet. There's really no clear signal that you're moving in the right direction. There's just silence. And if you're in that season right now, I want you to hear this very clearly. There's nothing wrong with you. The quiet season is not failure, it's formation. Most people panic when things go quiet. They assume silence means rejection. They assume the lack of results means they chose the wrong path, the wrong business, or the wrong idea, or the wrong version of themselves. But the truth is, growth often happens underground before it ever shows up above the surface. Roots form before the fruit, and capacity expands well before visibility. And the quiet season exists to test whether you're committed to the work or just addicted to the feedback. This season messes with people because it feels deeply personal. You start asking questions like, why isn't this working yet? Or did I miss something? Or shouldn't I be further along by now? You look around and see other people seemingly willing, super easy for them. They're growing faster than you are. They're getting better recognition. And you quietly wonder if you're just left behind. But comparison in the quiet season is especially dangerous because you're comparing your internal experience to someone else's external highlight reel. You're comparing your behind the scenes construction phase to someone else's finished product. That comparison will always lie to you. The quiet season strips away external validation. It removes all of the applause. It removes all of the dopamine hits. It removes the reassurance that you're doing the right thing. And what's left is just you, your habits, your discipline, and your reason for starting in the first place. This is where most people quit. Not because they can't do the work, but because they can't tolerate the uncertainty. It's just too scary for them. Silence feels unbearable to someone who needs proof before they proceed. But the people who make it through this season learn how to keep moving without permission. And one of the hardest truths to accept is that momentum often lags far beyond effort. It's that classic delayed gratification feeling. You can be doing everything right and still see nothing change on the outside for longer than you'd like. That delay doesn't mean the work isn't working. It means the work is rearranging things internally. Your thinking, your capacity, your resilience, those standards, before it rearranges your external circumstances. The quiet season upgrades you before it upgrades your outcomes. It's the quiet season where all of the magic ends up happening so long as you trust the process, so long as you surrender to the divine and to the universe, especially if you've got all these systems and processes in place and you've got a team and you're working through things. It just takes time. Stick in there. And what makes this season so uncomfortable is that it exposes your relationship with validation. If you only feel motivated when someone else is watching, praising you, or responding, the quiet season will feel unbearable. But if you can learn to show up for the work itself, have respect for the work, to value the process, the discipline, the refinement, this season becomes a training ground. This is when you can really fortify your constitution and grow some thick skin, ultimately. You're learning how to operate without the applause, and that's huge. You're not here to validate for others. You're here to validate to yourself that you can do the work, that you can head into that storm like the buffalo. You're learning how to trust yourself when no one else is clapping. And that skill matters more than most people even realize. That's huge. The quiet season is necessary because it rebuilds internal validation. It forces you to answer the question, would I still do this if no one noticed? Would you still train if nobody contended or commented? Would you still build if nobody praised you? Would you still create if nobody shared your work? That question isn't meant to shame you at all. It's meant to clarify your why, to help you get clear on all of the stuff that you're doing. When external noises all disappear, whatever remains is what's truly real. This season also strips away your performative motivation. Early on, motivation often comes from excitement, novelty, and the energy of starting something new. But novelty fades. It's the growth. It's the crowd. It's the crowd that moves on. And what's left is commitment. The quiet season removes the illusion that motivation will carry you forever. It just doesn't. Some days you're just not going to want to get up out of bed. Some days you're just not going to want to pick up the phone and call that prospect. Some days you just don't feel like doing the work. That's when things change completely. Discipline always trumps motivation. I love this quote by Ryan Serhant that I heard on Cody Sanchez's podcast, The Big Deal. He said in that podcast, it really resonated with me, that hard work trumps luck when luck doesn't work hard. This stuff teaches you that consistency matters more than inspiration, and discipline matters more than feelings. You learn how to show up on days when things just don't work out, when nothing feels rewarding. And that's where real strength is built. One of the biggest mistakes people make during the quiet season is pivoting too early. They make mistake after mistake. They mistake silence for a sign that something is broken, so they change strategies, or they abandon their routine, or they jump into the next idea before the current one has had any time to gain traction, let alone compound. So they confuse boredom with misalignment. They confuse how slow growth and this wrong direction, it gets them all messed up. But most progress is cumulative. Interrupting the process resets the clock. And a lot of people don't fail. They just keep restarting. They're like on a hamster wheel, just going over and over and over and over through the same lessons, the same song, the same rhythm, the same beat. And another mistake is chasing novelty instead of improving the execution side of things. When results aren't really showing up, but it's so tempting to look for a new tactic or a new system or a new shortcut. But often the work doesn't need to change. The precision does. The consistency does. The depth does. The quiet season isn't asking you to reinvent yourself. It's asking you to refine yourself. It's to get better at the fundamentals and to grow that thick skin and to build that muscle, to do the boring things really, really well. And it's to keep showing up even when when nothing really feels like super urgent either. So comparison also becomes especially toxic during this season. You start scanning your social media. It's the death scroll. You're looking at what others are doing, and suddenly your own progress feels insignificant. That is a huge, huge problem. But what you don't see is how long they worked in silence, and you don't see the years of all the effort before the overnight success. And you don't see the internal the battles that they fought when nobody was paying attention. You're comparing your middle to someone else's highlight or to their end. And that comparison will rob you of momentum at the end of the day if you let it in. And here's something that is really important to understand, and it really helps me, is progress in capacity always precedes progress in visibility. Because your results change, you change before income grows, your decision-making grows, before your reach expands or your resilience expands, before your opportunities increase or your ability to handle pressure increases. The quiet season is where the capacity is built. You're becoming harder to break. You're becoming resilient. You're becoming stronger. You're learning how to handle the uncertainty, and that strengthening of your tolerance is the gold mine for delayed gratification. And these things don't just show up on the surface either. They matter when the stakes get higher. So all of these signs mean really that you're on the right path, even when nothing looks like it's working. And one sign is that you're more capable than you were before. You start to handle things now that used to overwhelm you. Another sign is the decisions feel clearer, even if outcomes haven't caught up yet. You're less reactive. You think longer term. You're not chasing every shiny penny or object. Another sign is that discipline feels more stable. You feel locked in. You don't rely on motivation as much. You just do what you know needs to be done. And these are quiet indicators of growth, and they're very, very real. So lean into them. Another sign is that your standards are rising. You notice when things are feeling off, and you care. You ultimately care more about quality than quantity. You're less willing to tolerate chaos, distraction, or misalignment. That refinement often happens before external success shows up. It's uncomfortable because it creates a gap between who you're becoming and what your environment reflects back to you. But that gap is temporary. The world eventually catches up to the identity you've been building. It's fascinating and completely magical when it happens. The quiet season also reveals whether your habits are anchored or they're conditional. Do you keep showing up when things are inconvenient? Do you maintain your routines when no one is watching? Do you still prioritize your health, your focus, and integrity when results are delayed and haven't really appeared? These questions matter because habits built in silence are the ones that hold when pressure increases. The habits you build now will either support you or sabotage you when things get loud again. And they will get loud again. We all live in seasons. There's dark times and there's light times. During the day, you're filled with sunshine. During the night, you're filled with moonlight or complete darkness. And operating well during the quiet season requires a shift in focus. You stop measuring success by outcomes and you start measuring it by inputs. Did you show up today? Did you go to the gym? Did you call that prospect? Did you close that deal? Did you execute with care? Did you move the needle today, even slightly, on the things that truly matter? And when external feedback disappears, input-based metrics keep you grounded. You can't manage what you don't measure. They remind you that progress is still happening, even if it isn't visible yet. This is also the season to reduce consumption and increase creation, to really sink into the magic of creativity. When things feel quiet, it's tempting to consume more, to scroll more, to compare more, to look for the reassurance. But too much consumption actually amplifies the doubt. So creation builds the confidence, even if no one sees it yet. And creating reinforces your identity as someone who builds, not just someone who's going to react to whatever's coming towards them. The quiet season is a great time to deepen your craft, to sharpen that pencil, to sharpen your thinking, and redefine and refine your message without the pressure of performance. There's also something powerful about boredom during this season. Boredom really forces you to sit with yourself. It removes distraction. It creates space for reflection. Many people avoid boredom because it's uncomfortable, but boredom is often where insight lives, especially if you're aware of it. When you stop numbing the silence, you start hearing what actually matters. That quiet season isn't empty, it's just spacious. And that spaciousness is where clarity forms. And once you're clear, then you can create. I've been in quiet seasons myself, long stretches where efforts outpaced results and doubt always crept in, and it crept in quietly, and then it rang like a bell in my head. And seasons where momentum disappeared and the work felt invisible was so palpable. There were moments where quitting would have been easy and justified, and nobody would have blamed me for it, except for myself. But looking back, those were the seasons that mattered most. They forced me to build internal strength, and they taught me how to trust the process when there was no proof. And they prepared me for the opportunities I would have been ready for earlier. The universe is going to give you signs, especially during this quiet season. They're going to give you signs if you're on the right path or not. It typically is when the bank account gets smaller, when there aren't any phone calls coming in, when the silence increases and the spaciousness feels so expansive. If I had to quit during these seasons, my life would look very different today. Not because I lacked talent or intelligence, but because I would have interrupted the formation process, the magic of co-creation that the universe works so closely with you on. That quiet season doesn't announce when it's ending either. You don't get a countdown. You don't get some reassurance. You just keep showing up until one day something shifts. And when it does, it often moves faster than you expect. It comes like a tidal wave. The paradox is that the quiet season only feels endless while you're inside of it, which many of us who've gone through this lull in our business or in our personal lives feel like it's never going to end. Once you move through it, though, you realize it was finite, but it was purposeful. There was lesson there. There was something in that experience that refined you. It strengthened you. It clarified your priorities. It showed you what you were actually committed to. It shines light on everything. And when results finally show up, they're more stable because you're built stronger and there's a foundation that will take you into the future. If you're in a quiet season right now, resist the urge to dramatize it. Don't label it as a failure. Don't assume it means you're behind either. Stay with the work. Be consistent. Stay disciplined. Tighten up your execution. Keep your routines simple, but keep them going. Trust that something is forming, even if you can't see it yet. The quiet season isn't asking you to be louder. It's asking you to be steadier. That's a version of you on the other side of this season who is going to be calmer, more capable, and less dependent on the validation. That version of you is being built right now through repetitive discipline and patience. You don't need to rush it. You don't need to explain it. You need to surrender. You just need to keep showing up. If things feel quiet right now, don't panic. That's often the sound of something aligning beneath the surface. Just keep going, you guys. Let the work speak for itself. Dive into the work. Like I said earlier, keep sharpening your pencil. Keep getting better at your craft. This is an opportunity, and it's not a lull. And if you want to talk through what this season looks like for you, whether it's in business, creativity, health, or if you just need some direction, there's a place below that I'm going to click on, that you can click on to book a call. There's no pressure, just clarity. Sometimes a quiet season doesn't need motivation. It just needs perspective. So, ending this podcast on a really good note, where everybody out there that feels like they're going through some darkness or some lull in their business, or if there's an issue that's creating stagnancy and you're not feeling like things are moving, keep your head down. Keep doing the work. It's going to pay. Don't quit. Everybody, thanks for watching another episode of the Wealth and Wellness Report podcast. My name is Diego. Please follow, click the button below. We'd love to get more subscribers. We'd love to get this content out more, and we'll see you on the next one.